So hello, I'm Will,
I'm Ben.
and we're here at Rock City today with Toby from Freddy'S Drop. Hello.
Hello. How you going?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. Yeah, we've just arrived in UK, so maybe 2-3 days ago. So I think we're just coming right from our jet lag, and I think tonight's going to be good. We sort of had a couple of shows already, so this is sort of we're up and running now.
This is the first time you've been to the UK in recent times, though, like kind of past year kind of thing.
Well, maybe a year actually. We usually come a couple of times a year for the last 15 years. We've been doing that. So we kind of toured very hard after we released our last record, which is called Bays. I think we were on the road for almost 2 years, pretty much, and so we've just had a bit of time off lately, and we're back in the studio making new music as well.
So you're making new content now?
We are, back home we are.
Yeah.
So we've been working in the studio the last couple of months, and working on the next thing that we're going to do.
Awesome. I wanted to ask about Bays as an album, because I think you're personally a really consistent group, a big fan. The four albums have just got consistently better, but keeping the Fat Freddy's sound. So tell us about Bays as an album.
Well, I mean it's basically we're an independent group, and so we have our own studio, and we do our own we work on our projects just by ourselves. So we just have been building our studio and working on making our music for that amount of time. It's like I've been in the group since 1998, so it's like I'm coming up to 20 years now. And when we started off, we just had nothing at all. We just had like a very simple little Pro Tools, computer with an M-box or something, and then a few drum machines and like some bad microphones. And then, just over time, we've just really, we've just kind of got more into the music, really. It's the perfect project for us all, because even though we've got different influences and come from different areas of music, it's a perfect kind of project for all being involved and all collaborating and making a sound that's distinct to that group. And over the years we've just really, it's like our it's what we do for a job, but it's definitely something we're interested in, like always developing new techniques. And I mean, for me, the 4 albums do progress and sort of they all for me, when we're working on a new piece of music, it's like some things just really sound like a Fat Freddy's song, and sometimes it's something we've never done before, but it's just got the right quality to it. So that's what we're always searching for, really, But it's just, we're an independent group, so we just set our own agenda, really, and that's, we're very fortunate that we can do that.
What's the writing process like for you? So when you kind of think, right, let's maybe make some new music, it's maybe been a while or not, but you want to make some more anyway, so why not? What's that like? Do you kind of sit down and say, right, let's do some new stuff, or does it kind of come naturally? So you're on tour now, is there stuff going on now? Like, are you writing bits and bobs? What's that kind of process like?
There is a bit of writing, because we've been working on some new things that are almost kind of ready for the stage, so whenever we get a chance, we run them and try things and get on the stage, do sound check with our new songs or something like that. But I mean, it's always a little bit different how we write, because it's pretty easy for us to get in the room and write songs together, but often it's hard to actually get those demos recorded well, because we're all there and we're all just sort of a little bit unfocused, even if the music's coming out quite well. So sometimes we have to just, a couple of us go in, put down some of the ideas that happened in the jam we were having, and and sort of start from a more technical place sometimes, especially in the studio. But I mean, there's ideas, they float around for years and years. Like, there's some songs that we're doing at the moment that have their origins at least 5-6 years ago, just ideas that have been floating around. We've never kind of quite worked out how to do them, and there's always a number of songs like that are sort of in the background, it's just because we've been together for so long, there's just it's quite funny. Like, one song we've been working on, I was going back through the files trying to find all the demos and things that we've had over the years, and I found these ones, and they go back to like 2008. It's like 2007. It's like, oh, how far does it? It'll get there.
Also, like, I wanted to ask about it's your 4th album, Bays. Between the first 3, those I don't know what kind of question this is, but those 4-year gaps, and then there's a 2-year gap up until Bays. Is there a reason for that accelerate? Because it was quite 4 years.
Yeah.
Fat Fred is going to drop a new album, but then it was 2 years, and it.
I know. Yeah, no, that was. Do you know the? It's funny because it always does take us a long time, and for all of those reasons, like it's great creatively to not be, to be independent and to have our own, agenda, but also it's hard to be disciplined and get through the work, So but the thing is that, like I said, over the years we've developed this great studio, and now it's like, well, the studio's there, we've got to use it, got to get in there. It's a good place to work, and but we got in because they were coming every 4 years, and then how did it go? Yeah, Bays came out, and that was 2 years. So we managed to do 4 albums in 10 years. Apparently, that's quite respectable somehow. Yeah. Some journalist told me that, and I was like, hey, great, okay.
Four really good albums.
Oh, well, yeah. Cool.
You could put out 4 bad albums in 10 years quite easily.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Even a bad album takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Also, I read this on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's true, but based on a true story, was in the New Zealand charts for 2 years, the album charts.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact statistic, but there is some amazing statistic about, it's the longest. If we got some kind of award, it's like it spent the longest time in the New Zealand charts, but that would only be for a New Zealand album, I'm pretty sure. Not, obviously, not the Beatles or anything like that, but something. But are you
not the New Zealand Beatles then? Is that you when you're home? Like?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we're psychedelic enough. No, I mean, not really. The cool thing now though is that we're the kind of group which is really just part of the furniture, because it's like we've never been promoted heavily in anywhere, even New Zealand. But we've been around for a long time. Everyone knows who we are, and what's quite good now is, there's a lot of people come to our shows and they've been listening to us since they were kids, and it's been just in the background, and so it's cool because they don't really worry about, are Fat Freddy's cool? Is it okay if I like Fat Freddy's? It doesn't really matter. It's not that kind of group. It's just we've got a good reputation for doing good shows, and it's ironically the kind of band where different generations can all enjoy it, and that's just from being around for a long time.
I don't know, I think it spans so many, we were speaking earlier, it spans so many different sounds. You hear it underground, you hear it at festivals, coffee shops, cafes, and also commercially as well, so it spans across so many spectrums. So what New Zealand acts would you shout out or tell to like the UK listeners on the radio station? Is there any artists yourself that you would push or give a shout out to? Yeah, well, there's a friend of ours who's often comes on the road and does support for us around Australasia, and that's Lord Echo is his name, Mike Fab, Wellington producer, and he's got a new record out now what's he on? I think it's on Soundwave, so he's actually got a big deal now, and he's got global distribution and everything, and that's definitely very representative of Wellington, and there's an undercurrent in Wellington, a lot of musicians there. It's a small town, so there's not much work for them to do, but there's a lot of producers and people making quite original music, and it's not necessarily electronic music, like they might be making it digitally, but there's a lot of people who are quite trained, jazz musicians and things, and they like to use their instruments, and so his stuff is cool. Like it's sort of, in some ways it's sort of retro because of the weird instruments and organs and drum machines and stuff that he uses, but it's also just got completely his own thing, and it just sounds very kind of contemporary and not necessarily like a throwback to anything. But yeah, Lord Echo, and I think his album's called Harmonies, the new one. And yeah, he did 3 albums. I think it's like Melodies, Curiosities, and Harmonies, and they're all great, man. They're all really consistent and really good. And I think actually Soundwave's all reissuing the early ones that never got released over here. So I would definitely recommend checking him out. And he works with good singers, and there's like a lot of different styles on there. That's the other thing about Wellington. It's just like an isolated place, and people like to
be involved in all kinds of different music, you know. That's sort of
A bit like Nottingham.
yeah, it probably is, right? Yeah. Do you think so? Yeah, but
Okay, one final question now, and this is something I asked to all the musical acts I interview. One musician or one band that is sort of the pinnacle for you, and we'll do it on a personal level because this has been an interview with you. One that you would outright say, if you can, that is your just all-time favourite, I guess, and one that you look up to.
It's hard, you know, because I'm an instrumentalist, and so there's times where all I'm doing, I'm playing the trumpet, and I'm thinking about the technique of the trumpet and how to just use that one voice, you know, and that's and so it would have to be, you know, an instrumentalist like a trumpet player like Woody Shaw or someone like that. I would think of that, and I would just be like, you know, that's what I'm focused on. But then at other times, you know, we're working in the studio and we do production, and I'm thinking about, you know, people who produce music or people who lead large groups, you know, and then it's got to be someone like, you know, David Axelrod or Sun Ra or something like that, like someone who could just take a group and just make it completely distinctive and represent. Basically, or Duke Ellington, you know, take the elements that he's got and just use them in a way that no one else can use, you know, and those players, they go and do other things, they sound different, you know, because the kind of the skills of that person who's putting it all together. So yeah, it would have to be, you know, Duke Ellington, I would say, maybe, yeah, because he, man, what he achieved just with those acoustic instruments, and basically by knowing the personality of the musicians that he was working with, you know, but that's something that no one will ever get to that level, because it's just, it's a different type of scene now, you know. Music is just, they would go on the road for years at a time, and, you know, every night they'd do their show for 3 hours, and then he'd go to his hotel room, and he had a piano in his hotel room, you know, and it didn't matter where they were, they'd go to different towns every week, and like, he'd just always be writing, and he'd bring music to the show the next day, you know, and he knows the way the guy plays the clarinet, he gives it, you know, tells him how to do it and puts it in the right range, you know, like that's, I'm really interested by that kind of music. And yeah, but I mean, at other times, you know, we just like to get in the studio and do, you know, and just program things and get the synth, all the synths like all queued up together, and at a time like that, you know, we just like, you know, Detroit techno and like Theo Parrish or something like that, and we get into this minimal, you know, using electronic elements in a very minimal kind of way and things like that. So yeah, for us, it's just, I can't even pin it to one, because it's just always, you know, it's always a different, you know, process.
Yeah. Toby, thank you very much. It's been lovely chatting to you. Good luck with the show tonight.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. It's good to be here. Cheers. Awesome.